The Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, and we continue with conversations this hour on certain things that, we're talking about business, we're talking about money, we're talking about a continent whereby it's going to depend on itself in order to then be able to survive. And that helps us to continue our conversation this morning. Joining us for that conversation is Chris Rumenda. He's the head of commercial with Watu Credit and joins us this morning. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about building long-term businesses. We've heard the statistics, right? We see the numbers, and they tell us that a lot of businesses that begin, whether they're entrepreneurial in nature or otherwise, where they come together with a consortium of people, is that they don't live beyond 5 years very often. But by 5 years, it's done and dusted for whatever reason. So in order to have some kind of longevity, that businesses that we see that are 50 years old started in somebody's garage, 50 years ago, and how did they actually keep it that way? So that forms what we'll be talking about today. But as you're here, how about we welcome you to today's conversation with the proverb. Siti will tell you where that is from, and then we're going to ask you what your interpretation of it will be.
The most interesting part of the show.
We don't know that yet, but okay. We can start with that, isn't it?
All right, let's spice it up a bit, shall we?
Let's go.
All right. This country is part of the SADC economic community. I'm asking a question which I had asked in an earlier section, and if you listen to that particular section, you will actually understand what I'm going to ask. This is the uniqueness of this country. It's gotten independence twice. The first time it got independence when a minority declared what you call a UDI. It decided we are independent from these colonialists. Then the second one came about when the majority decided this is nonsense. How can a minority decide how our lives are being run? So they themselves went into some serious guerrilla war, almost 10 years, and then they got the independence. It is one of the richest countries on this continent. And I'm going to give you a hint, had one of the longest serving leaders. Okay, it's in Southern Africa region.
Okay, it starts with a Z. Okay, sure.
And it's not Zambia.
No. So that's Zimbabwe. No, I knew you were going to make it more interesting. I was not good in geography. I got a C+.
You got a C+ in geography?
Yeah.
You do know that after the C there was a D, eh?
Yeah.
And after the D there was an F, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you did okay.
Perfect.
Yes. You're right in the middle. The proverb.
Yes.
There is no honey. No, there actually is honey. There is honey, but no bees.
Honey, no bees.
Yes, there is honey, but there are no bees. Wow. How come? As Kenyans would ask, how comes?
You just decided to give me 3 words.
The words are not 3. If you count, there is honey, but no bees. 6.
Wow. Can I be the first guest who doesn't get it?
No.
Yes.
No, but let me tell you a little secret about it. Okay. Dennis, explain to our guest.
Yeah, your interpretation can never be wrong.
Never be wrong.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
So
how you
there's no wrong or right answer.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So there's no honey and there are no bees. There's honey, but there are no bees. Okay. So getting something good does not mean that you have to suffer through it. There's always a smarter way of doing things. So there's a smarter and simpler way of doing things you can achieve even a greater result. Because I look at it in our African context, a very good example is when our people are working out. They're like, if I don't feel that pain, this is not working. Or if this medicine is not that bitter, then the medicine is not working. So there's an aspect around it whereby I can just work smart. I can find a simpler way of doing things and achieve even the greater results. So I don't need to be beaten by the bees, but there is a way that I can actually get the honey.
Where was the difficulty?
How were you scared?
I mean, this guy, he was looking like he's sitting for an exam. I was wondering, yes.
Well, so that's great. And in terms of getting into the business of the business this morning, we're looking at building long-term businesses. if you have to talk about it, that means we're coming from a place where there's a challenge. Do we
Correct.
see, first of all, that it's difficult? And how do we see that it's difficult to have businesses who are running for 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 years? Do we see that that's a problem?
Yeah, it's a big problem. Like if you're looking at, so I've been in the startup scene for quite a while, and you're looking at a lot of companies in Kenya over the last 5 years. So we have a lot of companies that have actually failed over the last few years. But when I look at it critically, one of the key things that I see, like companies that stay for a long period of time, not to mention brands, it's about the impact that these companies create. If you don't have a long-term impact, you're going to become a short-term company. So I'll give an example of Watu. So currently at Watu, we're celebrating our 10th year anniversary this year in August. So this is a company that has been existed in 10 years and is going to be in existence for quite even longer because started in Kenya, growing into 8 African countries and also growing outside Africa. And the key driver around this is the impact that we create in the society.
How do you measure impact exactly?
Yeah. So impact, so I look at it, so you look at Kenya, look at the average age of the people that we have. So we have a lot of youth and a high level of unemployment. Okay, so with this high level of unemployment, how does that company create? So for us, it's empowering entrepreneurs. Like that's one of the things that we strive into doing. So we empower entrepreneurs by creating employment through financial inclusion. So far, looking at Watu so far, over the last 10 years, we have been able to give out over 500,000 loans. And looking at these 500,000 loans, so you can imagine the number of, this is specifically on the motorcycle side. So looking at this, one motorbike, when we did our research a few years ago, is supporting at least 8 people with that one motorbike. So it's paying school fees for someone, it's paying for food, it's paying for other things. So with this one motorbike, we're supporting an extra 8 people directly. So you can imagine that impact that this company has created. So with that, it remains in the mind of the people. So once you go out there, where you can see from the testimonials that we are getting, once you walk around, there is always someone that is directly impacted by Watu.
So you talk about the impact that someone feel that that you leave in someone, and that communicates to someone's emotions and feelings, and
Correct.
that problem that you seek to solve, a problem that they have.
Yes.
And when you talk about that, also comes about the matters of sustainability and making sure that this business becomes a legacy business for years to come.
Correct.
And that goes then to speak to the processes that have been put in place to ensure that that is actually achieved. So just take us through some of the policies, safety nets that you put in place to ensure that it's not just 10 years, but it lives longer and that continues to solve problems.
Okay, so good question. So when you're looking at this, so what you really have to do is your business has to tell a story that is going to last for a very long time. So you need to have enough people that will share the same story about what you want to do. So for us, it starts all the way from onboarding. So if we look at one of the key pillars for Watu is responsible lending. So that is the first phase. So you're looking at how do you have like a proper KYC process that ensures you are lending to someone who needs the asset first, but apart from that, is this person able to sustain whatever payment plan that you're going to have with him? So that becomes the first bit. The second bit is you walk the journey with your consumers. So you just don't lend and then disappear. So for us, we're always there with them. So we're one of the few companies that have the largest, if I focus specifically on the border side of our business, we are one of the few companies that have the largest database of our consumers. So we have mapped out over 30,000 border stages by visiting them physically. So we have regular meetings with the border community. We understand their system. So currently the border have a leadership structure all the way from the president to the state chairman. So we are in direct contact with them on a regular basis with regular meetings. So we get a lot of feedback about consumers across the journey. So we understand even the difficulties that our consumers go through. Like just to give an example, we understand that if a motorbike is damaged and someone is supposed to pay more than 5,000 shillings, a normal boda person is not able to afford that. So most of the time they are forced to park that bike aside, go and look for other sources of income to come and repair. But for us, having understood this, we offer a product we call 30/70, where you're just supposed to raise 30% of the repair cost, and then we're going to cover the rest and add it on to your loan so that you are able to generate your revenue on a daily basis. So these are some of the practices that we actually put. And then if I go back to one of our pillars, because we also owe duties to our investors. So when you're looking at our ESG goals, like one of the key things pillars is now financial inclusion. So if you look at the type of customers that we are targeting, these are customers that are not targeted by conventional banks and other people. These are customers that do not have enough data in terms of CRB ratings. They don't have enough data for them to be issued loans elsewhere. So these are the type of people that we target. And once you target such type of a consumer, they will never forget about you because they have been trying to get these assets for quite a long time. The only avenue is through chamas. They can't raise enough money. They can only raise a down payment. So for us, it changes a lot.
On Mombasa Road, not very far from here, there is a company that sells motorbikes. It's also called Watu.
Yes.
Are you people related to that company?
We are Watu. So Watu, so if I may start, so Watu is an asset financing company. So we are all over Kenya, started in Mombasa in 2015, all over Kenya, but expanded across Africa. So we are in South Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, Sierra Leone, even DRC. So growing rapidly, we are in talks even to expand into the LATAM region. So we do two things. So we offer asset financing. So that is two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and electric and EVs. And then we also offer connectivity devices. So for mobile phones, we also offer financing for that. So it's the same company. So along Mombasa Road, we have two branches. So we have a warehouse next to Subaru, and then on Vision Plaza, that's when we have our
that's
branch.
the one I have seen.
Yeah, correct.
So those motorbikes that you sell are not manufactured or assembled by you?
No. So we just finance. So we work with the various suppliers. So the different suppliers like Khan, General, Bajaj, etc. We work with them, and then we just offer financing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, you're in the business of pretty much just moving money and ensuring that assets, those who need these assets actually get them.
Yeah.
But you've equally talked about your database is huge, and that you understand the kind of clientele that you have. That feedback mechanism is really key in the business that you do, and that you deal with a certain clientele who do not have their data with, say, bank, CRB, and whatnot that is needed for them to access credit.
Correct.
But yet you give them credit anyway.
Correct.
What is security for you as a business and safety net and the trust that you have with your clientele that they will meet their end of the bargain?
Okay. So the security for us is two-pronged. Okay. So the first bit of that security is the asset itself that we're giving out is the collateral. The asset that we're giving out. So for example, when you're giving out a motorbike, it's going to have a GPS track. So that enables us to, in case we need to reach out to this customer, there's a way to get into them. Apart from that, during our KYC program, our KYC steps, we have guarantors and referees. And one of the key guarantors that we have, one of the key referees that we have is now the state chairman. Because now we want to understand, where are you going to use this bike? Because for us, what is key is this bike has to be a driver for you to generate revenue for you and your family.
Also,
so where are you going to use
So I can't just come to get a bike for my committee and
possible, but over 98% of our customers are using it for income generation. So at that particular point, we have that. And then the other bit that I said before is the story that you're going to create for these people. So there's always an emotional angle that is attached to this. So these people came to me at my lowest point. No one else was willing to help me. So I have to dedicate myself to ensure that I'm able to do this so that I can also help my family and get other things. Because right now we have customers that are even, like the best customer I've seen is in the 6th cycle. Like got on the bike, paid for it, is giving it to another person to use as he gets another and another and another. So they want to be repeat customers, and with that they want to ensure that they're maintaining a very good relationship.
Does a repeat customer equate to long-term business?
Yes. So because that's one of the things that shows your business is actually growing, because the value proposition that you offer this customer the first time was so impressive that he came back again. And then apart from that, it opens a different angle whereby now it opens up into referrals. So you have this customer that now tells more customers about how good you've been to them, so that they can come in. So we've got a lot of cases whereby we're not even operating in that town, but someone is like, I want our to bike. I have to get the bike from Watu. So we have customers that are traveling from very far to come to locations that we're operating just to get a bike from Watu because of what they have had and how we are doing things.
What was the thinking behind starting this business?
Good question. I thought we will start from there. So if you're looking at to make this make more sense, I'll go back to 2008. So I'll go back to 2008. So before 2008, the motorbikes that we are all aware were these big Yamahas from Kenya Power and Lightning and agricultural extension officers. Like we didn't have a lot of bikes at that particular time. So what changed when bikes were zero rated in 2008? That was a game changer.
You have to explain what on earth is zero rated.
Okay, so before we had huge tariffs when someone is trying to import a bike. So with that, suppliers could be able to assemble. So you'll be able to bring bikes in different parts and then assemble it in Kenya and make it cheaper. So with that, it made bikes to start going for around. In 2008, we're going for around 70,000 shillings. But before that, for you to get a bike, you needed close to 500,000 to actually get a bike into Kenya. So once it gets to around 70,000, a few employed people were able to now purchase bikes. And then once they purchase these bikes, they will rent it out to the boda riders, who will be paying 500 shillings per day just to ride the bike. So the bike does not belong to them. So using the same concept, we are like, if we are able to give you a bike with a little down payment, when you're starting, we're talking about 10,000 in terms of down payment. So with a little down payment, we're able to give you a bike. You continue paying the 500 shillings that you are paying. And then after 1 year, because our loan terms are between 1 year, maximum 18 months, the bike belongs to you. So that is the thought process that we had. So you're able to pay for this bike and it belongs to you. Because when we were doing research at that particular point, almost 66% of the boda people were actually renting. So right now, this number has dropped to around 33, and we're working to push to ensure that this number changes completely. Because imagine paying for a bike for over 6 years, you're paying 500 shillings per day, and it never belongs to you. So that was a big game changer. And if you look at it, the number of motorbikes in Kenya moved drastically. Right now, we are talking about 2.5 million registered motorbikes with 1.8 million active currently on the road. So it's one of the biggest economic drivers. So when I go back to what I was saying about impact, I was just calculating the numbers yesterday before I come here. So you can imagine 1.8 million riders spending at least 500 shillings on fuel per day. Per month, we're talking to close to 4.3 billion in terms of VAT alone. So like the office, looking at the budget that we had last year in 2024, the office of the deputy president alone can be run by boda people in 1 month. So the budget for 1 year can be done in 1 month.
I use
Repeat it again. By the time we get to Friday, I'm really slow.
So what I'm saying is, so we have 1.8 million active boda riders in Kenya currently, out of which the average that they're spending on fuel per day is 500 shillings.
Okay.
So if you're looking at 16% VAT specifically on the fuel, we're not looking at how other areas of the impact the economy in terms of spares and everything else. We are talking to close to 4.3 billion in a month.
In government's coffers.
Yes.
Inside.
And then now if you compare that with the budget that we had last year for the office of the deputy president, so it's close to 4.5 billion
Per year.
Per year. And this is all the boda
And you
people
guys
generate
are bringing in this thing on VAT,
Per month.
4.3 billion per month.
per month.
So there's a case to be made, essentially, for
it
private
is.
sector business, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the stock of, and when I say what's the stock or the character of this business, that do we have individuals? It's because it's beyond building a long-term business is beyond taking a loan, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's taking that, it's making sure that the thing is working, but then it's also making sure that other aspects of your life are well put together.
Yeah.
Do you find, and I guess this all comes within account management, but do you find that folks who take these loans, let's just use the boda as an example, take the boda, are able to feed themselves and their families, send children to school, be members of an active community while still paying their loans? Or is it that everything that you do beyond buying fuel then goes towards paying the loan?
Yeah. So we saw an increase. So it's a very valid question, especially in the last 2 years. So in the last 2 years, with the fuel prices hiking, with the economy becoming a bit unbearable for most of our customers, we saw that happening because now a rider is forced to choose. So he's making around 1,500 shillings per day. He has 500 to pay for the loan, 500 for the fuel. He remains with 500 that is supposed to feed his family. And we go to a point whereby that 500 shillings is not enough for him to feed his family. So for him, he has to make a decision. Do I feed my family or do I pay my loan? And for that, it got us to go back into the drawing board. And we started looking, we went back to our KYC rules and also started making...
Excuse me.
Yeah.
What's KYC?
Sorry, I'm using know your customer. So how do you know your customer? So these are basic criteria. Look, do you know the age? Do you know how much income they are making, where they come from, etc. So these are some of the things that we're going to use to determine as a criteria if this person should be given the loan or not. So one of the key areas that we looked at is the amount of down payment, because if you make a larger down payment, it reduces now the daily payments that you're supposed to make. So we increased the down payment that we made, that someone has to pay. It reduced the number of customers that can actually purchase, but the ones that are purchasing right now are the ones that are now able to pay, because it reduces what they're supposed to pay to around 400 to 380 shillings per day. And we also offer the opportunity for them to stretch the loan from 1 year to up to 18 months. So majority of them are now choosing 18 months because for them it's that Kadogo economy. So like, how much do I make per day?
So if you're paying for 18 months, what then? What are the installments that you then have to pay?
So if you're paying for 18 months, that's when you'll go to around 380 shillings. If you're paying for 1 year, on average, that's why you'll operate from 480 to 520.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is so? Please go ahead.
No, continue. So it also, so I look at it in various regions. So if we look at it properly, most of our customers in towns, in major towns, are not struggling because in Nairobi, just from here to CBD, someone will be paying around 300, 400 shillings. So that is already helping. But the other aspect that we've started pushing is the EV angle. So we've started electric motorbikes. So over the last 2 years, we started pushing heavily on electric motorbikes. So when you look at it now, the cost of swapping a battery is cheaper than the cost of fuel. So with this now, it leaves them with a higher amount of money that they can actually pay the loan and also have money for them to use.
Explain this idea of swapping the battery.
Okay. So electric bikes have two models. So one of the models is whereby you buy a bike that has a charger. So you can go at home and charge your bike overnight and use it for the range of up to 150 to 200 kilometers. But now what is very sustainable is the swap model. So whereby these electric companies have swap stations. Most of them have set them up next to petrol stations. And we're also partnering with them. If you go to our office in Vision Plaza, there's also a swap station. So what happens is you get a bike. Once you get a bike, it has two batteries that are fully charged. Each battery for most of the bikes have a range of around 70 to 80 kilometers. So once the batteries are depleted, you just take in the battery that you have, put it in the cabinet, and then get another battery that you can swap, and then you are charged between 70 to 100 shillings per swap.
So assuming I'm using this bike, is there a specific center that I have to go to, or I can go to any of the stations that you have?
So it works like a petrol station. So you
okay.
can go, but for your specific bike. So that's one of the challenges we're facing as an industry. But there are a lot of players that are working to create universal swaps. So currently, we don't have universal swaps. So for each specific bike has their own swap station. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a break on this point. We're talking this morning about building long-term businesses, and Chris Rumenda is the head of commercial Watu Credit, and we're looking at how you can actually do this and how it's actually being done. Let's look at what more can be reaped from this as we continue. It is 29 minutes to 10 o'clock. Kenya's biggest conversation continues after this.
Welcome to the Art of Living show, where style meets serenity and art. From modern marvels to timeless classics, join us as we explore the charm and the beauty of some of the stunning homes, plus the stories behind them.
Behind this, there is so much sleepless nights, so much.
If you're building a house to escape a landlady, then you don't need to build a luxurious house.
Celebrate the essence of fine living, where we explore the spaces of icons, personalities, celebrities, innovators, and let's discover, explore, and engage.
Every now and then, fake news might pull a few strings, but when it comes to reporting the facts, there's only one tune we dance to, our own. For more than 100 years, The Standard has delivered insightful fact-based journalism, and you can't fake that.
Omoka na dakika mamili every 20 minutes. Multiply bet yako times 5,000 kila draw. Ukicheza na 20 bob only una daka laki yako. 40 bob wins you 200,000. Ukicheza na 100 unashinda nusu milioni. Millions to be won every day. Cheza daka. Pesa bika na washindi. Ni rahisi. Nenda kwenye paybill 440. Account KTN, amount shilingi 20 hadi shilingi 2,000, and get your cash direct to your M-Pesa. Cheza daka.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Chris Rumenda is the head of commercial here this morning, and we're having a conversation about building long-term business. So I guess the question comes in, beyond taking a loan, beyond, taking access credit, what are some things that you encourage folks who are actually in business to do to make sure that their business actually goes beyond, a year? As we've seen, the numbers that we've been given, especially from around businesses in Africa, is that between 1.5 to 3 years, and after that, a lot of businesses are going down the drain. What would you encourage people to do to ensure that you're down the line in more?
Okay, so for me, another thing that we should be looking at is you need to understand your consumer. I don't think a lot of businesses have spent enough time, enough research to actually understand their consumer. You have a business idea, within 1-2 months, you are ready to go before you've actually understood what the different personas and the different types of customers that you're actually serving. So that's one is very key. You have to understand, like, what do they like, what do they hate, like how are they changing. So I'll give a very good example in terms of the current structure of buy now and pay later. So if you understand what's happening is we have a majority of our customers are between 18 to 35 years old. So once you understand that group of customers, I usually call them they are the on-demand generation. If you want food, I want it now. That's why you see companies like Uber are doing very well. If I need transport, I need it now. That's why e-commerce and everything else is actually peaking, because you've understood you have an on-demand generation. So this is someone that wants a bike but cannot afford to get that bike on cash. So is there an option for him to get that bike now and then be able to pay later? For you to come up with such a decision, you need to have understood who is your customer. So that is one. Number two, businesses you have to innovate. Like you have to make changes. For example, you have to make changes in terms of the technology that you're using. Technology is changing. So right now, if you're looking at the way you do KYC, as I said, like, you know, in your customer, are you implementing AI into this to help you in terms of not having a very huge labor force that is doing the actual work? So what are you thinking? Implementing technology to make things easy, because if you don't do that, your costs are going to skyrocket. So you need to be very innovative. So whatever is changing, you need to be part of that change. If you do not adapt as a business, then you're not going to survive. So that's one of the key things I'll talk about. And then finally is your team. Do you have a good team? As a business, do you have a good team? Like right now, as I say, the majority of the people that are in the workforce are millennials towards the end, and Gen Zs. Have managers adapted in such a way that they're able to manage Gen Zs and millennials to be able to keep them, to keep the good talent within the companies. Because if you look at the way Gen Zs and millennials are acting, are not like our parents. Our parents will work in the same company for 10, 15 years. If you look at the current crop of people that we have, it's 2-3 years. So if you don't have ways of being able to keep these people within your company, you end up losing talent. And once you lose talent, then your business cannot be a long-term business, because you don't have people that are passing the history of the company. People need to know, you need to always have people that understand where you come from and where you're actually going. So if you don't have that, that story is lost in between, and that business cannot be generational. So that's a business that is not going to last very long. So those are some of the key areas I think if businesses focus on that, they should be able to last long.
As you focus on making the business generational, you deal with a clientele that you say through your KYC, you understand who your clientele is and how your story is very important in them. But then again, you come with the day-to-day way of doing business and the clientele that you have. And unfortunately, it is a conversation that you must have. They are considered to be the ones who don't respect traffic rules.
Correct.
And here is a part where you having this clientele for up to 18 months.
Correct.
What is your engagement with them moving forward through this period, in making sure that as much as we give you credit, you must play by the rules? And how has that changed, if any, how boda operators operate in the Republic?
Yeah. So like I'll say this, before I joined Watu, I understood bodas are the most rowdy people ever.
And since you joined, they've changed.
They changed. So once you understand the boda community, is a majority of them, this is income generation for them. We have a certain percentage whereby it's not income generation, and then these few boda people are the ones that tarnish the name of the whole wider boda community. As I said, the boda community is very organized. So it starts at that stage level. So each stage has a chairman responsible for that stage. So if there's any issue, there's someone that is actually accountable for that boda. Rises all to county level, sub-county level, to the national level. So all of them are registered to that level. So for us, we focus our engagement on that level. And since we understand the type of customers that we have, we make it fun for them. We go to their level. If I'm trying to make the boda community to change the way they behave, and I'm doing it in a boardroom, it can't work. I have to go to their level. So there are various activities that we're doing. So currently, as we're speaking now, we are in Kakamega. So we have what we call our Watu clinics, where we're going town by town and setting up in partnership with the NTSA and the different stakeholders within the Boda community. And in these things, we train people on road safety. Watu itself also has an option of what we call Watu Shule. So for example, if you cannot afford to go to a driving school, you can be financed for that through Watu. So that can be added to the cost of your assets. So you can also be financed to actually do training. So we do road safety trainings, and we make them fun. We use like activities like football. Like we have football for Boda community, so that it brings all of them together, and we use that opportunity to discuss about this. And then we keep showing them the importance of following the law. Specifically, do you have a driving license? Do you have insurance? So do you have a logbook for your bike? So we just show them what is the incentive of having this. For them, it's about the value proposition. If you do not have a driving license and insurance and you get into an accident, then you're in trouble. So if we show them there are people that have done that, it makes it easy for them. And then there are a lot of partners that are able to break down this cost for them to the daily level. If you're able to go to the daily level, for them, they'll follow the rules.
There is this small matter of the funds that you have access to offer these facilities. Where do the funds come from?
So a very, very, very good question. So there are different areas. So one of the funds will come from shareholders, but majority of our funds come from local banks. So we also get loans to give loans, and then there's also an aspect of reinvesting the profits that we make to be able to give these loans to these customers. So those are the various sources of our funds.
What interest rate do you charge these people whom you finance?
So it depends. So when you're looking at
just wait before you answer that question. Is it local banks or just other banks outside the country?
So for now, the focus is in local banks, or for currency exchange reasons. Yeah, but local banks.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the interests depend on the different angle. But before I answer the interest question, I go back to understanding our customers. So if you look at our customers do not even ask about interest rates. For them, what matters to them is, can I make enough money per day to be able to feed my family and to be able to pay you? So we look at our calculations, start from there as we work backwards. So if you look at most of our calculations is, how much are you comfortable to pay per day? And then now we start working backwards.
They have the option of saying, this is what I want to be able to pay?
So within the long term. So if you want a long term of even up to 6 months, you can get that. So but the maximum that we go is 18 months. Previously we had up to 24, but the risks in this business become higher the long term the longer the period that you have. So that being said, so our interests are depending on the different types of assets. So for an electric bike, we charge 7%. And then for an engine bike, we charge 8.5%. It has a higher risk. And then for tuk-tuks, we charge 6.6%. Yeah.
Okay. Which people are actually coming and getting these loans? Who?
Yeah.
Because until somebody has a board, you can't call them board rider.
Yes.
Which kind of who is getting into business?
So I was looking before this interview. I was looking again at those numbers, and it's quite interesting. Around 40% of our customers are women. But now you have to understand how it connects. They usually say in society, one woman will help at least 3 or 4 people. So once women are empowered, they help even more people than what men will actually do. So if you look at this, I went deeper to understand. So the owner of the bike is the woman, but the person that is using the bike is a man. So if you look at, most women are in chamas. So they have these groups where they're able to contribute money. So once they're in these groups, okay. So once they're in these groups, they're able to get money. So if you look at, most of our sales increase around December, when a lot of them actually get their chama contributions. So once they're able to get the down payment, and then that down payment will be able to get a bike for their husband, and specifically for their children who have just cleared school and do not have any other source of income. So that's a large share, but majority still remains the Boda community, specifically the ones that were renting bikes. So they actually operate in a stage, but they don't own their own bike. So they're like, do you have a bike? I can go for one trip or this, or there's someone that's renting them the bike. So those are the ones that are coming in. For Simu, that's overall, like the majority of Kenyans are looking at both employed and we are losing a lot of phones as Kenyans. I don't know what's happening, but for mobile phones, it's all inclusive. So it's a wide range of customers. Yeah.
What you also?
We also finance mobile phones.
Mobile phones.
Yes.
So if I want, what's that expensive phone called?
The most
Which one
expensive one.
specifically?
iPhone.
Yes.
The iPhone.
Okay.
So
if I
not
want
yet,
an iPhone, I come to you.
yeah, so not yet on iPhone. So right now the focus is on Samsung, specifically the low end, but we are working to upgrade on that.
Low end is what exactly?
Between A05 to what we call A16. Yeah.
Do you find that folks who have to get into credit then also find themselves struggling financially?
Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah, we have a lot of that, especially over the. I can say a few years ago. Right now, that has changed completely. But as a company, we always have a listening ear. So we always want to understand the circumstances that you're going through. So I'll give two options. For example, for a phone, our phones we use what we call the pay-go model. So if you don't have money, and you don't want to use it or don't want to pay at that particular point, there is no amount that you're being charged. So you only pay when you use the phone. So for them, even if they're going through financial difficulty, the phone can be put aside for a few days. And once they get money, they're able to pay, and then they continue using the phone. For Boda Boda, as I said, most of our customers are using it for income generation. So one of the things that we check is, are you using the bike? Is the bike in a rideable condition? If it's not in a rideable condition, we want to understand why. Yeah. So one, let's say, for example, you are sick. If you're sick or you got into an accident, we offer storage services. So we'll be able to pause your loan for that period, put the asset in storage until you're able to feel better. Or if you have someone else that can ride the bike on your behalf and continues to pay, we also have that option. And also we have an option of someone transferring a loan to another person in case you're actually struggling and you make arrangements by yourself, and then we transfer that loan to this other person.
Is that a small matter of insurance?
Yes.
How does that work? Who do you insure? How do you insure it? What do you insure? And what is it that one expects this insurance to cover?
Okay. So currently, like a few years back, we used to offer insurance, but we got a lot of complaints about how expensive the loans actually become, because the cost of insurance has to be added to the loan. That's why you're hearing complaints. I bought a bike at 150, I end up paying this, because a lot of customers did not understand the total cost of ownership. So right now we broke it down. So when you purchase a bike from us, before we release it, you are the one to purchase the insurance.
You come with your insurance.
You come with the insurance
Before you get the bike.
Before you get the bike. So once you get that insurance, it has to be comprehensive. So it covers you and also covers the bike in case of an accident or in case of losses. So once, let's say you get into an accident, we will support you by working with the insurance companies. We have built a very good relationship with them, so they'll be able to pay. And then once they pay, we can either finance you a different loan if it was very early, or the money goes to you, and then you decide what you need to do.
There is the aspect of you've talked about when someone is unable to pay, you are unwell and whatever, but still that's existing. That there is the aspect of you've not been able to pay, and we have to repossess.
Correct.
So in terms of you coming to repossess that which you've loaned out, what is the process? And in the event that, say, you've repossessed and there is that period of waiting and I want to get it back, how do you engage with your clients on that?
Okay. So in terms of our policy, like what we're looking at is a customer first, not asset first. It is always customer first. So what we look at, our criteria for repossession, we do not look at what arrears or how much money you owe. We look at how regular are you paying. So we have what we call our 7-day score, 14-day score, and 28-day score. So within 14 days, 28 days, are you paying something? So if you get to a position whereby within 28 days, you have not paid anything, that's now when it triggers that action for us. So during this time, there is always communication.
And anything is how much?
Yeah? Yeah? 0.
Okay, so I'm saying like you're supposed to be 300 shillings
Yes.
a day.
Yeah.
So you're looking at if this accumulates over 28 days,
With you paying zero,
it'll be almost impossible for you to actually pay.
you'll struggle after that.
So what is the acceptable amount that I can pay daily when I have a problem?
So for us, so long as you're paying, even 100 shillings, so long as you're paying, we do not have a problem. We just need to rehabilitate you to get into the aspect of paying. But if you're paying less, we will now call you to understand what's happening. Like how can we support? Because you know what happens if you pay less, you're going to go beyond the loan period.
Right.
And then your interest rates are going to accumulate, and then you end up paying a higher amount of money. And then if you've paid a certain amount of money and you're struggling with that, we have an option what we call restructuring. So if you've paid a certain amount, we can now decide whatever balance is remaining is a new loan. So that puts a lower repayment rate, a lower payment per day, and we can give you also that option.
Does that happen often?
Yeah, it happens a lot.
And do you find that folks are able to come on the other side of recovery to then be able to do that, where you have an understanding that you can do a little bit better, even if you have, a compromising situation?
So currently, majority of our customers are not getting even to the repossession level.
No.
Previously, it was that bad, but now we're not getting to that, because if I'm saying within 28 days you've not been able to pay, we still have an option for you for a period of 1 week, where you can pay up to around 2,000 shillings. So you just need to, we just need to change your behavior for you to get used to be paying the loan. So once you get into that, if all of this does not work, that's now when we trigger our offline team that we're now going to visit you. But if we get to you at that particular point, you still have an option of paying a minimum of 5,000 shillings, and we will still not repossess. And in case your asset is repossessed, you still also have a period of 14 days for you to pay between 10,000 to 20,000 for you to get your asset back. So until all of this fails, that's when the repossession now becomes complete.
What's your default rate?
No, very low. So out of 10 customers, we have 6 customers that are paying very well. Around 3 we will struggle, that stretches, and then the 2 will not be able to.
So it is an industry that you mentioned that is a big economic driver for the country. You talk about 4 billion shillings just in VAT in a
monthly.
City. Yeah, a month. We talk about 4 billion shillings. That is just on VAT. That is plus other insurance and whatnot. So it is a multi-billion shillings industry.
Yeah.
And with that then comes the government in terms of support for this industry, because then again, we are in the government that is in place campaigned on Watu wa Boda and Mama Mboga, and this is squarely their government, if one would want to argue on that basis. So in terms of support from the government, are you receiving enough, or should the government do more to make it easier for this industry to even be greater?
Okay, so I think a few years back, since Muga likes proverbs, I'll give one common proverb. They usually say like love is like a cough. Like you cannot hide it. So these types of industry that we're dealing with right now, on the buy now and pay later, is like a cough. Like the time is now. So you're looking at a lot of people cannot afford to actually buy a phone cash. Like you need to have, for a good phone, you're talking about between 10 to 15,000 for you to be able to. So no one can a lot of people cannot afford to pay 15,000. For a good bike, we're talking about 170,000 on average. A lot of Kenyans cannot afford to get 170,000 right now to pay for that. So with that, the option that a lot of Kenyans have is now to use buy now and pay later. So this is something that is there. And I think the government has recognized it a bit late. There was an amendment, the business laws amendment that was done late last year, 2024. So this now puts a bit of regulation into this. So the advantage of this is now it protects both the consumer and the companies. So if we have now a level playing field, this can enable us have a lower interest rate to consumers, so we are better protected, the risks are actually reduced. But right now, those risks are borne by us, and the higher the risk, the higher the interest rates. Like right now, one of the biggest issues we're having a lot of border theft. So a lot of bikes are stolen, and for us as a company, we are losing a lot of revenue on that, and customers are also losing a sense of livelihood for them. So with these laws coming into place, plus the different regulations that have been put in insurance, the different regulations that are coming in from NTSA, this will make it better. Internet penetration is improving. So this is, I know the government supports this in various areas, and that has seen a spike in terms of the sales that the assets that we're financing in terms of SIMU. So mobile phones, a lot of people are opening up to more mobile phones. So right now you can find a lot of mama mbogas now with smartphones.
Yeah.
So they are able even to document the sales that they're making. They are able to research. I am finding a lot of border people right now using AI. Like when I'm invited to meetings, when you look at the letter that they have written, you can just see this directly has come from AI. So these are levels that are actually changing. So with increase in terms of digital penetration and connectivity, so this is something that will keep going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Previously, you talked about some of the things that you do in addition to the loans and then sorting out business and such. But we also know that business and its success is cyclical in nature. That everything needs to be taken care of. Now, if you want to peg this against statistics, we know that, and we're just going to use Nairobi as an example.
Correct.
A significant number of the patients that present at the spinal injury clinic are border riders.
Correct.
Okay, and this comes from accidents.
Correct.
We already know the mob nature of the things that we hear,
Correct.
and things that we see. How does this business essentially go towards making sure that the social aspects, the softer side of, even when you've done the business, you've done the brick and mortar, but also making sure that you can prolong your business by essentially being alive?
Correct.